Dear sister, hello, my name is Christian. Who in the world do I think I am starting a podcast for women? Well, I'm your brother. I'm the guy that believes that there's not enough male voices and there's not been enough women led by men who desire to give and take nothing from them. I'm not here. I didn't start this podcast to talk to women about how bad men are and the drama of relationship. I personally believe there's too many podcasts that have grown off starting wars between men and women, and I just don't think it's healthy at all. I think that we ought to have podcasts that build men and build women outside of relationship, outside of what they owe anybody, outside of what all the things we have to be. I mean, I have a podcast called Dear Brother Podcast, and I spend time talking to the men about all the things they have to be and getting lost in their responsibilities and losing themselves. I think the same thing happens to women even more. Um, Being a mom, being a wife, being a friend, being a daughter, being a businesswoman, all the things that you women have to pull off. I just don't think that the biggest conversation in your life has to be about a man or the man who broke your heart or looking for a man or how to find a man. I mean, there are men out here and statistics say men want to get married. But the concept that I want to deal with is a woman in her heart. Who are you? What you deserve to give you. I want to heal your heart and I want to give you something without you having to give anything in return. I also started this podcast because I lost my mother in 2012. And I eulogized my mother. And at her funeral, I was sitting there thinking, what in the world am I going to say about my mom? She was everything in the world to me. And I thought about what would I say to my mom? And I looked in the scriptures, and it was a one verse, very short. Sarah died, and I said that's what I'll talk about at my mother's funeral. That's how I eulogize my mother. I'll talk about the fact that Sarah died. Now I know that's confusing. It's like, okay, well, Sarah died, but it's much more deep than that. Just like this podcast will carry much more weight than that. Sarah was the wife of a great, great man named Abraham. Now, this is this man biblically, they said he was the father of many nations, right? And when we talk about this man being the father of many nations, the father of faith, all these things, one day when I sat there and I thought about it, well, and it's a simple thought. If you have a father of many nations and you have this great father of faith that's going to birth nations and children as far as the sand of the sea and the stars in the heavens, well, you can't have a father without having a mother. If you have a father of many nations, that means you have a mother of many nations. That means Abraham didn't just pull this off by himself. The woman is the gateway to life. And not only is she the gateway to life, she's also the gateway to thought. And I think that we ought not only honor you as our sister, but I think that we ought help you lift your head. I'm going to say this, and I'm not scared to offend because I don't think truth offends. I think truth sets free. When Eve was presented to Adam in the garden, she did not have a name. It was Adam's responsibility to name her. And it was that's more deep than just giving her a name. It was giving her an identity for herself. And that's major for a man to have the kind of voice that can speak into her life and give her name or give her relevance, right? And that means that he had to be a trusted man with a trusted voice that had deep love and concern for her. Because that's the power of man voice, to be able to speak into a woman's life and change the trajectory of her life. I don't think there's enough men speaking into women that way that can lift her head, lift her heart, and remind her who she is. So I'm your brother. My name is Christian, and this podcast it will be to you, for you, and about you. I'm not here to start battles. I'm not here to talk about your ex, right? I'm not saying I won't mention things about relationship, but I'm not here for you to focus on what happened to you. I'm here to help you figure out why it happened and what you can do to strengthen your life, strengthen your womanhood, be proud of yourself, and stand on your feet like you want to. I also wrote a book called The Soul of Sarah. The Soul of Sarah. I wrote this book after I eulogized my mother because I realized, my God, if women knew exactly the power they have, and not just girl power. No, no, no. I'm talking about spiritual, relevant power that you need to understand about yourself. I think that a lot of women's mistakes come because someone didn't explain her to her. Now, I know your mother can do a good job, right? She's a woman. She can see things. And your aunts and grandmom, and these are valuable. These are your pillars. But there's nothing, dear sister, like a brother coming in your life and saying, listen, sis, this is what's real. This is how it is. Sometimes you need a brother to snap you out of fantasy, bring you into reality, and tell you what's really going on, right? So we value the voice of women. I value the voice of women that have helped your life. And I want to come alongside them and be a brother to say, listen, sis, think about it this way. Think about yourself this way. Think about that relationship this way. Think about your success path this way. Just as much as a sister needs a brother to come in her life, a brother needs a sister to come in his life and say, listen, bro, this is what it really is. I want to be that voice in your life. So I'll be here dropping videos. At some point, I'll do a live podcast, probably weekly, to talk to you, to share, to give you advice. This is when you'll see this screen go up. I'm just introducing myself today, so it's not a full podcast, but I just want this is a sign to go up. Dear sister, the advice. This is the time that I'll speak to you. I'll share with you. I'll share what's going on, you'll share with me what's going on, and I'll give you advice on how to look at it, or maybe you're missing it. Sometimes I'll say, hey, sis, you're not missing it at all. You're on top of it. But women need advice from a brother that cares about them. So you'll see that screen come up. Of course, you'll see my live screen come up while I'm teaching. And also, you also have mission. I believe that healed people ought go heal other people. I think that there's danger in women constantly healing. You get to a point where you're healed, and the result of your healing is that you sow into the life of another sister. And so I have this mission. I have the same mission for men, but that red number is a little different. For men, there are 36,357 men in prisons in Pennsylvania. That's the state I live in. And in this state, there's also 3,935 women. Well, this book that I wrote called The Soul of Sarah, I want to get it into the hands of every incarcerated woman in the state of Pennsylvania. Some of you will be coming from other states. Let's push the mission to your state. Heal people, heal other people. Just as much as hurt people, heal people, heal people. And I think that I want to be a part of helping sisters heal, helping you see your life as you should, lifting your chin, loving you without you having to give anything away. All right. And so these are our projects. This is who I am. So when you deal with Abraham being the father of faith, then that dream or that vision had to come through not only the body of a woman, but the mind of a woman. So even in these chapters I deal with, what God showed me. Now, again, sometimes you feel like I feel like an imposter at times. There are times I did a book tour on this book and women said, you didn't write that book. A woman had to write that book. But a woman didn't write this book. I wrote this book in 2012 because I saw something that in my mother that, wow, that woman was Sarah. Sarah died. That's what died. A woman who can birth nations, a woman who pushed this boy forward into his future. And the same thing for my sister. Sarah died. I said, if women really knew what they have the power to do, don't be stuck, ladies, in this concept of you're here just to get married to some guy and have children. That's one of the biggest pushes to women that I think has robbed women of who they really are. It's robbed you. It's stolen from you because you focus so much on who you are outwardly or what you present outwardly that you miss the essence of who you are without performing for somebody. And I want to put you in touch with who you are without having to perform for anybody else. You want a great man? Become a great woman. Become the woman of your own dreams instead of trying to be the woman of a man's dreams who might change his dreams every other day. Many of you have been worn out trying to be what everybody wanted you to be. And so now you've taken on so many personalities. You take on a personality in your religious system. You take on a personality in your home. You take a personality when you work. And now you're scattered all over the place. And I think there's a unity of the soul, of the mind, the will, and the emotions of a woman that if we can just unite that, then she can completely see her value. So in this book, what I did, God showed me something powerful. When I went to sit down and write about this book and write to women, I really had a sense to look at the woman's reproductive system. And what I was seeing was there's a spiritual reproductive system that completely matches the natural reproductive system, right? It's the soul, right? Just like a woman will receive a man's seed into her body, right? Spiritually, a woman receives seed into her ear, and then it goes into her womb, right? But her womb is her mind. So what I do in this book is show you the natural reproductive system is the same as the spiritual reproductive system, and you have to watch what you take in because you could birth a disaster. Ladies, you have the power in your mind and in your body. Listen to it's simple. When a man gives you a seed, right? When a man gives you a seed, you give him back 9 months later. You give him back eyes, ears, limbs, organs. You understand? That's the power of a woman. And you have the power to produce whatever you allow into your mind. And so that's why it's so important that you as a sister be careful what you allow in your ear gate, because once it hits your mind, it begins to grow, and eventually you'll birth out of your mouth either something negative or positive. You have the power to take a seed or a word and turn it into an entire thing. So the woman must be protected. The woman must be protected, but not protected from the bully outside. I'm here, dear sister, to help you or to protect you from the bully that's in your mind, that speaks to you and tells you you're unworthy, that speaks to you and tell you what you can't have, or speaks to you and tells you that the mistakes you made have separated you from the grace you desire in your life. No, sister, I value you. I'm here to lift the heart of my sisters, not to show you how to chase a man or lock a man down. I want to teach you how to lock your soul down so that you can get to the places of your dreams and also be the woman of your dreams while you're chasing your dream. Now, let me look in here because I just want to tell you that the chapters. Actually, my sister wrote the foreword to this book, but this book is broken down into 5 lessons, right? It's broken down into 5 lessons. And I deal with the will, seeding your ability, how to seed your ability. And the times you thought you lost your ability, how to find yourself, how to locate yourself and speak into your ability or your capability, right? Chapter 3, I talk about the emotions, the expanding of your ability. You see? So we talk about seeding your ability. We talk about expanding your ability. Not getting rid of your emotions, because that's impossible for a woman, but understanding how to adjust and control the emotions so you don't live a life that's out of control or led by how you feel. All right? The emotions, the expanding of the ability. Lesson 4, beholding your ability. That's self-acceptance. That's I accept me if you don't accept me, right? That's worthiness. And lesson 5, how to know, this is where I talk about men, how to identify, let me read it right, how to identify who to say I do to. Because any man can ask you to marry him, but how do you know who to say I do to? And many of you have said I do to the wrong person because you didn't have the measurements to even know how to measure a man. I'll teach you how to measure a man so we can stop you all from committing to men that are less than men. All right.